Why, hello again. Today we're reading from Just a Simple Carpenter, Chapter 11. The Magi had left, and the day began to settle back to normal. That night, my mind was troubled by another dream. Another angel dream. The angel came to me that night and said, "Joseph, do not fear. Take the child and his mother and get to Egypt." "Is this related," I asked him, "to the dream the wise men had? Is Jesus in danger?" "Pack quickly," he replied. "You must go down to Egypt and remain there until I tell you to return. Herod has plotted in his heart to try and kill the child." I awoke with a start and called Mary. We packed hurriedly, taking only as much as was necessary, only what we could carry. I fashioned a bag that would hang from my neck and could be loaded in both ends. Mary gathered her head shawl around her in such a manner that the child could ride in a small hammock formed at her side. Jesus did not wake as we stopped at the inn to rouse Leonard and Sarah from their sleep. I shared of the angel's warning and gave Leonard some of the gold from the Magi to purchase a donkey that we could pack our few necessities on and also use as transportation on our long journey to Egypt. Leonard kissed us all on the forehead and said, "Godspeed," and turned away. I knew that he wanted to hide his tears from us. Sarah made no such display. She wailed as if she had lost a child. I imagined that her mourning wail echoed the one she cried when her own son was delivered without life. Through her tears she bid us go with God, kissed us, and watched from the door. In the midnight hour as we left, I turned and saw the old couple turn back into the inn, heaving great sobs of anguish and leaning on one another for more than just physical support. I did not think about the scene that would play the next day when Jerome would show up to play with Jesus. The handmade wool doll he would bring would never know its owner. Years later, I learned that we escaped Bethlehem at the precise moment needed to avoid the wrath of Herod. Unexpectedly, I ran into Isaac, Jerome's nephew, and a fellow shepherd in Jerusalem. I asked him about my old friend the innkeeper and learned of his deep loyalty to me, the child, and my family. "Joseph, I'm sorry. Both Leonard and Jerome are gone. Leonard died the day you left. Jerome left the flocks with Joshua, Josiah, and me in order to help Sarah manage the inn. They married 2 years later, 2 years after Leonard's passing, and Jerome died just last spring," he told me. My heart sank in the depths of sadness as I listened to Isaac recount the events of the day that followed my midnight getaway. "I went to town with Jerome to visit Leonard, see Jesus, and bring you another lamb to garnish your table with. Jerome said that the kings had left after having showered the child with gifts. Joshua said, 'We will not be outdone by rich foreigners bearing the trappings of gifts. We must show the carpenter and the mother of the angel night babe child who is really practical.' And together they chose the finest of lambs, much like the one Joshua had brought with him that night that Jesus was born. When we arrived, the courtyard was teeming with Herod's guard. 12 were there, Joseph, 12 of them. And the moment we entered the courtyard, I saw one yelling into Leonard's face, 'Tell me, old man, where did the insurrectionist go with the child?' Leonard took a ragged breath. I could tell that they had already beaten him within an inch of his life, and he looked defiantly into the eye of the captain of the guard. 'I will not tell,' he said. 'My life in place of his, Roman pig.' He had gone too far. The guard raised his hand one last time, and the club he had beaten the old innkeeper with returned bloody. Leonard's body slumped to the ground, his blood spilling into the fountain pool. That's when the captain of the guard saw us. "You shepherds," he bellowed, "where can we find the insurrectionist carpenter and his offspring?" We answered truthfully that we did not know. The guards pushed past us, and we rushed to help Sarah tend to Leonard's body. We could not worry about being unclean by contact with the body of our fallen friend. All we could do was comfort his widow. After we helped her properly bury Leonard, Sarah told us about your narrow escape, and that the guards had shown up just hours after you had left with orders to kill the child. The next week, Herod's soldiers came through, killing all male children who were not yet 2 years old. The cries of despair went up from all around Bethlehem. In her bitterest emotion at having lost both Leonard and your family, but knowing that you were safe, Sarah cried the loudest and the longest in the ears of the public. A year after our flight to Egypt, the angel returned to my dreams. "The ones who desire to see the child dead are now gone. Take the child and his mother home to Israel," he told me. We gathered our belongings and placed them on our donkey to start the long journey home. Passing through Palestine, I heard that Herod's son, Archelaus, had taken the throne. My mind disturbed me. Could not this son of the one who killed an entire generation of boys not still be after Jesus? The angel returned to comfort me in my dreams that night. "The child will be all right," he said. "Take your family to Galilee and set up your lodging, and all will go well with you." And so Mary and I took Jesus and returned to Nazareth.